Non-monogamy seems to be having a moment. But for as much as it's talked about in the news and on social media and even amongst friends and family, there still seems to be a shadow of secrecy surrounding it. I often hear from my clients that they don't know anyone who is in an open or polyamorous relationship who isn't messy in some way. And I totally get that. The first polyamorous person that I ever met was super messy, and it turned me off from considering polyamory or non-monogamy as an option for myself for many, many years. But in my work as a relationship coach, I get to talk with lots of non-monogamous folks who are intentional and kind and compassionate and thoughtful and committed. And so I want to share some of those stories with you every now and then on the Permission to Desire podcast so that they can serve as what Laverne Cox calls possibility models. They're not all going to be how you might structure your relationship, but as you meet these folks, I hope that you can take what works from the ones that resonate with you and start to see a vision of what is possible or could be possible for your relationship. When Matt and Dylan came to me, they said they were at one of the lowest points in their relationship. They had been together for many years, and their long-standing open relationship was causing some tension. Now, some of the pain and conflict in the relationship was from the openness itself and the ways in which they were not going about it as well as they could have. But some of the hurt in the relationship was also coming from something deeper, foundational to the relationship. And in this way, I actually think that non-monogamy can be a really good thing for a relationship. In a monogamous relationship, you might be able to gloss over some of the weaker points in your relationship because the structures of monogamy just prop up those types of relationships so well. Non-monogamy, on the other hand, can serve as a bit of a stress test and expose the parts that you need to strengthen. And that is exactly what Matt and Dylan did. Over the course of about a year that we worked together, Matt and Dylan figured out better ways, more productive, more fruitful, more fun, and fulfilling ways to go about their open relationship and to have greater intimacy and connection and commitment in their relationship. They didn't just rebuild their open relationship, they elevated all of their relationship. When I caught up with Matt and Dylan for this conversation, they shared with me that their relationship is now at one of the highest points it's ever been. In this conversation with Matt and Dylan, you'll hear some of the relationship traps that they fell into so that you might avoid them. You'll learn about the ingredients for increased intimacy and commitment in a relationship, some tips and tools for navigating conflict, and the ways in which they strengthened their relationship and you might strengthen your relationship. I'm so excited for you to meet Matt and Dylan and to learn from and be inspired by them. Matt and Dylan, thanks so much for chatting with me today. So we first met a few years ago at this point when we worked together, and it's been a while since we worked together. We had one catch-up session in between our time together and now. So do you remember, can you go back to all the way back in the beginning? What was it that prompted you guys to reach out and want to start working together?
I mean, you want me to? So we reached out to you because we were pretty close to rock bottom. Like there was a point when, we were at a breaking point, and I went for a walk and things felt like they were starting to fall apart, and I just felt terrible about it. And I went to you afterwards. I'm like, I think we both realized that we didn't want this to end, and we decided we needed to work on it.
Yeah. I mean, we had even talked about taking a break at that point as well. I mean, that's how far I had gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty rough. And we both realized that I think we needed some kind of mediator, some kind of third party involved to mitigate this, because we could not communicate clearly enough or well enough ourselves.
Yeah, and what were some of the challenges that you were facing back then?
Poor communication. Let's see.
That was definitely one of the biggest.
Yeah.
So lack of understanding of each other and our wants and needs. I think that was also a big one.
Yeah.
And because of that, I mean, we were seeking those out elsewhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was pursuing the needs that I needed from Dylan elsewhere because I didn't know how to properly communicate them, and that obviously did not end well.
Yeah,
I did not. We didn't handle it in the best way, and it kind of brought us to a breaking point.
Yeah. So you were at the time you had an open relationship. What was sort of your structure like at that moment? And then also like how did it evolve over the course of like working together, and then where is it now?
I mean, the structure, I think the way we can phrase it more so is the structure that it had was, yeah, we were open, we went and hooked up, but we didn't really talk about it. It was kind of just more. I remember the way we used to communicate was just basically leaving food for each other. Was Yeah, if I hooked up, he likes chocolate almonds, so I'd come home and leave that out, and that was kind of my way of signaling like, hey, something happened, and that would be like, okay, cool.
That was the best way we could communicate.
And that was
Yeah.
that was how we kind of did it. And now it's a lot more of, hey, I'm gonna go hook up with a boy and like later today. It's like, oh, have fun. Like, is this a how do we do it? Is this a reoccurring or new? And we kind of and then yeah. So
Yeah, we're far more comfortable with
Yeah.
it now than I think when we decided to move in together. We were like, how are we going to navigate this? We had no idea. It felt very uncomfortable bringing up the idea of being like, hey, I'm about to leave to go hook up with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of both petrified at that prospect of telling the other person that. And now we laugh at it. That feels like a distant memory, but we're far more comfortable talking about it now.
yeah, it feels honestly it would feel weird if we had to go back to that.
Yeah, I remember. I know that many folks think that, oh well, if I just don't talk about it, or if we do it only while one of us is traveling, that will somehow be easier. Like, what was your experience of that?
That definitely, I can attest. I definitely tried to hold back some things that I thought would be hurting Dylan if I let them out, but really, in reality, I was hurting Dylan by not talking about things because, I was seeking emotional connection through hookups that I could otherwise be talking to Dylan about and would have had a much better time doing, and I ironically ended up hurting him from those experiences in my efforts to try to protect him. And it just was, it did not go the way I thought it would.
Yeah, I basically I think the way it kind of boils down in the end, like there was a lot after all of this, there was a lot more trust that was built up between the two of us. So I think that's what also made the talking about all these different things, whether it be hookups or whether it be feelings or whatever, it made it much easier to kind of like be a lot more open about everything.
Yeah. I mean, what you're describing sounds like pretty night and day, right? Like, considering breaking up, not communicating well, scared to talk about your other hookups, to not on the verge of breakup, very happy, content, and like very fully communicating. Like, how did you get from like point A to point B? Well,
I mean, yeah,
you're just pointing at me.
I think we both wanted to make it happen, and we both showed up and put effort into trying to make this work. And you were incredible in facilitating that. I remember the first or second time we ever chatted, you came up with some analogy and things that I felt like I've been trying to talk with Dylan about. He just started saying out loud, and like, you did that within 2 sessions. That was incredible. We came to you in one of our lowest points, and I think we have since, we're coming to you now, and I would say one of our strongest points in our relationship. And that's in large part to you. So thank you sincerely.
Thank you. It's an honor to be part of the journey.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, we were both very apprehensive coming into it right at the beginning.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Of where we were at. And yeah, like, it's like, well, can this be fixed? And I think the whole process, like Matt mentioned now, of talking about it, you basically associating different scenarios that we've never thought of, and kind of like, I know it pulled me out my shell, which was incredible because that's generally quite difficult. Yeah, so kind of breaking down those barriers that you did was extremely helpful.
Yeah, I mean, to give you guys credit, you also you showed up and you did the work, right? Like, I can't.
We did.
That was a big part of
80% of the time we did the work.
Yeah. Not all the time. Sometimes they had to nudge you to do the work. But yeah,
I had some kind of unfounded apprehension about going and seeing a a counselor like you, because I, for some reason, had this message in my mind that like, if we have to get to this point, then it's already too late or something. There was some like narrative in my head about that. And really, it's complete bullshit. Like, you know, if you both are willing to commit the time and energy to make the relationship work, it is incredibly helpful.
And then over and above that, I mean, I speak very openly to friends and other people about
Same.
what we've been through and how coaching has helped us. And I now recommend it to a lot of people. Like I'm like, even if you're doing well, go have chats because there's always just something to need to learn.
Same.
Yeah.
There's a
You go to the
shocking amount
doctor
of
for. Go ahead.
sorry, and yeah, there's a shocking amount of couples that need this, that have, you know, confided in me and said, you know, this is something that would benefit them, but they're too afraid to take the step, or they're not sure how their partner feels about it, and it's like just bring it up, just have a conversation about it. You might be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. I think about it like we go to the doctor for annual physicals. Like your relationship can go have to tune up sometimes as well. Do you guys can you like identify one or two things from like our time working together that you felt was the most impactful?
Notes.
I don't think you have notes.
I does he have notes? Um, so I think the tools that you kind of give us to break arguments, I think that was kind of like one of the biggest for us in terms and I remember one of the first times we used it. So it's recognizing like when you're having an argument or disagreement about something, recognizing when you're starting to go in circles. And I remember one of the very first times using it. It was an old house in the kitchen, and we were having a bit of a go, and we were both like, "Oh wait, let's pause this because we're going in circles. We're not understanding." And then Matt turned to me and he's like, "Okay, well, when do we come back to this?" And I was like, "Well, let's do a couple hours and then kind of come back clear." The tools I think that you've given us have been more instrumental in how to handle disagreements or communication than anything else.
I'd agree with that. I'd say our ability to bring it down from a red down to like a, you know, light yellow has been our we never had that capacity to do that before, and I think that's probably the most valuable tool set you gave us, is the ability to kind of bring that temperature down and give you know, just have at least some, like, we can resolve conflict a lot faster, I feel like, than we used to be able to. Things that would otherwise be a blow up, sometimes they can blow up sometimes, but they don't last nearly as long.
Yeah.
And the resentment or the you know, bad energy doesn't last nearly as long as it used to. We're like, all right, well, let's talk through this. All right, we had a good communication about it. We're kind of figuring out what buttons we accidentally pushed on each other, and we can move on.
I think the thing to kind of note there is not thinking that going through counseling like this is going to prevent any disagreements or arguments from happening, because like
They still happen.
They're still going to happen, and honestly, I don't think anyone can live together and not hit heads, but it's how you deal with it that we now have the ability to deal with than we did before.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and occasionally bumping into someone who you like are closest to is not a sign that you're not right for each other, or like that's just sort of like an inevitability. I remember that phase as well. Okay, so Matt, you mentioned earlier that like pre-working together and pre sort of sorting out some of your communication and comfortability talking about being open and your other like hookups, that you were sometimes looking for intimacy that you like might have gotten from Dylan or other like needs or desires like outside of the relationship. And so I could imagine someone saying like, okay, well now that you've like have better communication and you're in alignment, like you don't need to be open anymore. So like what about, I don't mean this as like a leading, like it sounds judgmental, but like obviously I'm big pro open, but like, so like what about being open now on the other side of this is still important to you and positive for you guys? Yeah.
I mean, the way I always put it is I have a lot of weird shaped cups that need filling. And Dylan fills a lot of my cups, but there's a lot of weird ones there that he cannot fill. and I personally believe that you can't expect any one person to be able to fill all your cups. I don't think that's practical or fair. So having this has definitely been a good frame of mind, I think, to explore in a healthy way. Find people in your life that can fill your cups, that make your life and fulfill your life for the better. Yeah.
Oh, I 100% agree. Yeah.
I think we both
need
have
that.
found people in our lives for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that.
And it doesn't just go to like open relationship in terms of hookups, right? In some cases it does. But that's also just finding different types of connections with different people. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing we've realized through all of this and are better able to articulate like when like some of our friends like why we're really close to them on certain topics or certain areas as opposed to with each other.
Yeah. Like I've seen Dylan has a friend that he's gotten quite close with, and I see Dylan open up in a way around him that I have never been able to see with me, and that makes me really happy. Like he deserves that. I want to be able to see him be happy like that, and so the fact that you can get that, it makes me really, really happy for you.
Thank you.
I realized that we didn't cover any of the sort of like basics of you guys, like how old are you? How long have you been together? Like you obviously you live together. Like what's like give us some like paint a picture of us for like of your relationship for us. Yep.
43.
31,
You sure?
I think.
We've been actually just short of January, so 2 months. No, next month.
Yeah,
will
next
be
month is 9 years.
9 years. Yeah.
Did long distance for 2 years. Met all around the world as incentive to kind of travel the world, and long distance was pretty brutal, but we made it work.
So you were
moved
long
into
distance for like the first 2 years?
the first 2 years.
And, like,
Wow.
opposite sides of the planet, kind of long distance.
Yeah, it was challenging.
Yeah.
But we made it work, and so that was. And then you moved into the city just before COVID.
Yep. So I lived in the city for 2 years. So we were in the same city for 2 years, and then we moved in together. So that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Been a journey, and now we bought our first house, and we have a house. We've had this house for about a year now, and it's awesome.
Very cool. And then what's the what do you imagine like the future has in store for you guys? Like what are your hopes or dreams, or like how do you see like non-monogamy like being a part of your like not being a part of your life? Like
I mean, Dylan's always my number one, and he's always going to be my life partner, and that's not going to change.
No. We constantly talk about like when we're older, retirement, and all that stuff. Like, but it's always together, and that's how we kind of address everything, and that's how we plan. But in terms of open relationship and all the rest of that, like we haven't talked about stopping that in any way because that's still
I think it's good for us.
cups
Yeah.
in different aspects. Right? We still need filling. Who knows what happens in 5 years, 10 years, whatever down the road. But where we're at now, like, is working really well for us.
Like,
people
people
you
come
guys
in and
sort of
out
like take
of-
it like you can like sort of constantly checking in on what's working for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're getting comments from friends that it looks like we're doing really well. So, like,
We are, and that's I laugh because like I think back to a moment when we were, if I can share a quick anecdote, we were in London and I was pissed at you for some reason. I couldn't tell you why, and we were like really grumpy with each other, and we were bickering in front of a group of friends, and that was really uncomfortable for the friends. And I look back at that and how poor our communication was back then, and how much better it is now.
Yeah.
I feel like we've come huge ways.
agreed.
But yeah, to come back to your other point, like, people come in and out of our lives and they serve different purposes and they fulfill us in different ways, but he's always going to be my number one.
No.
And then, as you guys know, obviously, I'm really big on, you don't need to be working with me for forever and ever. I'm always sometimes before my clients, but you're trying to graduate them. And so what was the process of like working together and then like wrapping up our time working together and then life post working together like for you guys?
Honestly, I just think we stopped scheduling with you. That's how it kind of just ended almost.
Yeah,
But I think the reason being is um, we I mean, what, we worked with you for about a year and a half, I think.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
we
by
like
that
decreased
point,
their frequency at some point. I was like, maybe we could go to every
yeah,
other week, or like maybe once a month, or like maybe just like schedule another one if you need it.
yeah, and I think when that happened, because we had all the tools and the ability to kind of start communicating properly, and then as that happened is kind of when I think it wasn't even like a thought process of, oh, we don't need to see Brian anymore. It kind of just naturally faded out, and then I think it was like 9 months or so after that, we were like, wait, we should have a check-in with Brian.
Yeah,
Just
we
kind
do
of like
occasional
a
checkups. Yeah.
yeah, because I think there was something that came up that we were struggling to talk about, or could not struggling to talk about, but couldn't
Navigate.
find the words or the way to
Yeah.
describe what we're getting at, and we were like, wait, we know someone who can help us with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
My
that's kind of how
recollection is
it.
that we were like, oh, in the like 6 days between us scheduling this and today, we've already like mostly figured it out now, actually. But like, let's just like be extra safe. I
Yeah,
remember you
it
guys being
was
like, yeah, we
there.
really like took the training wheels off. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the occasional checkups were nice. We'll like occasionally be like, well, how about maybe this is a conversation for Brian? We'll always say, and like, all right, it's worth having a mediator to kind of navigate the trickier maneuvers in expanding relationship parameters.
Yeah.
I had a slightly more definitive moment for me, at least, in when it was kind of time to ramp down with you. It's like through this process, I learned a lot about my own neuroses that I brought to the relationship that I didn't even know I was bringing. Thanks, Mom. So
We
you
all
and
have
this
them.
conversation and this process really helped identify that and made me go, oh, like there's a lot of bullshit I'm bringing that I thought I was putting onto other people, thinking it was their problem and it was really mine. So once I was able to identify that and start the process of letting go, there was a moment I feel like when I looked at Dylan, I'm like, okay, I can trust you to be vulnerable. It's a fucking scary step, but there was a few of those moments where it was like, all right, I'm ready to be vulnerable with this person, and yeah, that's hard, but it was great.
And we're there.
We really are.
Yeah, you guys are great. Who do you think would be like a great fit to work with me?
Honestly, anyone. No, like seriously. And I said it earlier in terms of like even if like couples in a relationship, whether they're open or closed, even if they think they're doing well, there's always stuff to talk about. There's always better ways to communicate, and it's just basically learning not to keep stuff in that could fester over a long period of time, and just get it out. So from that perspective, when I say anyone, I'm serious on that. Yeah.
I I would get more specific and say I think any couple that's looking to explore an open relationship or is either in the first steps of that or are even in like the late stages of it. We were kind of towards the late stages of an open relationship. Like we were mostly comfortable with it, but we still had a lot of communication issues. But I feel like that's an area that you really made. You were really skilled in trying to help us navigate in a healthy and productive way without it feeling so scary to talk about.
Yeah. And then if someone was like on the fence, not sure if like coaching was right for them, like what, is there anything that you could say that would like help them decide, or like what you ask them to like think about, or
If you guys if you two look at each other and say that, this is something we want to work on and you both feel that way, I see no, the sky's the limit. Seriously. There's so much you can accomplish if you both are willing to put the time in and the effort in. It's amazing what you can do if you both decide that this is something that you want.
cool. Anything we didn't talk about that you want to share?
You want to share your train analogy? That was the thing that made me go, when he's like, oh, you feel like you're an out of control train and you can't.
I clearly don't remember this.
That
Now
was
I
the
want to
moment-
know.
I'm not going to speak for you then. I'm not going to do that. That was the moment when I'm like, holy shit, this guy is good. When you could like get Dylan to talk through, like, you pulled a train analogy out of your ass, and it was amazing. And Dylan's like, yes, I do feel like that. Holy shit. Never mind.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just something about just like being seen. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks. Anything else besides the train analogy?
What was the question?
Is there like anything else that we like didn't talk about that you think would be like interesting or helpful for like me to hear, for someone else to hear?
I think Matt and I are complete opposites in terms of personalities, and I'm generally like a lot more closed off, guarded, and Matt's kind of more open, emotional, and I think there was a lot of like conflict there because. I mean, I do remember the day we talked about it. I was like, no, there's only like 4 emotions. You're happy, you're sad, you're angry. And then Brian's like, no, there's this entire freaking wheel. And I'm like, no, I refuse. Um, and I think that, like, that's not got, that's even also got nothing to do with open or closed in a relationship. That's just being able to identify more than just how I'm feeling. It was easier for Matt to understand how I was feeling, and I think I've got up to like 10 emotions now. But yeah, and I think that's definitely helpful. So it's not just about open relationships; it's also about how like identifying myself, being able to know myself a bit more has also helped us.
Yeah. I would piggyback off that. In the early stages, we were talking about like our emotional levels, like how much we express our emotions, and I think we graded me somewhere on a 7 to 8, and you were like a 2. And then Ryan, you said, "Oh, I think we could get you up to a 7." I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "There's no fucking way. There's no way we could do that." And like, you've definitely like
been
grown a lot.
4 or 5 now.
Yeah, you're like us. I would say sometimes a 6 even, and that's
Yeah.
amazing. And God, it took it. There were stages when I wanted to throw in the towel and be like, "This is never going to work." Like, we're never expecting you to get to that level is never going to happen, and I should just accept that. But honestly, it has gotten you've really worked on it, and I love seeing it. So thank you.
It's a pleasure.
I hope that you have been inspired by Matt and Dylan's story to build a relationship on your own terms. If you would like a fuller, more alive, erotic life or relationship, I would be honored to support you or you and your partner as your coach. If you would like to get a sense of what could be possible if we work together, head on over to thisisbgm.com/apply for a free next steps call where we can do a deep dive into where you're at, your desires, and your challenges, and I can identify the few next areas for you to focus on and answer any questions that you have about working together so you can decide if me as your coach might be the next right step for you. I would love to talk to you again. That's thisisbgm.com/apply. I'm Brian G. Murphy, and this has been your Permission to Desire.